The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not reflect the views or positions of Emory University or the Department of Anesthesiology. Welcome to the Gas or Breaks podcast. I am your host and favorite anesthesiologist, Michele Sumler, here at Emory. We are fortunate to have a diverse group of trainees here. Not only are they excellent intellectually, but they bring other things to the table here at our program. We have 3 trainees who have played sports at very high levels. One is a former NFL player, the other is a Paralympian, and last but not least, we have an ultimate Frisbee player. So we'll get to know them and kind of hear their journey as to what their sports life was like, as well as how that kind of led them to medicine. So first we have Dr. Nate Hughes, who is a cardiothoracic, adult cardiothoracic anesthesia fellow, who is a former NFL player. He played wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars as well as the Detroit Lions. Go Detroit! They're in the
Super Bowl champs this year.
Welcome. So tell me a little bit about your sports journey.
So originally I was a 4-sport athlete in high school. Grew up on a farm back in the backwoods of Mississippi, where the way to escape the country was to play sports. So you pretty much played every sport you could play to get yourself out of the country. Went to college.
Now, let me ask you this to cut you off. I don't mean to. Did you play all sports? Football, basketball, baseball?
And track, yes.
And track. But you had an affinity more for football. How did you kind of...
The weirdest thing was, I actually, looking back at it, probably was a better basketball player than I was anything. But as a 6'1" point guard, I was no Allen Iverson, so I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to play on an elite level playing basketball. But I felt that with being a 6'1" receiver, I had a chance of playing at a higher level as a wide receiver.
Got it. And so then you went to Alcorn State, right?
Yep, went to Alcorn State. There I played football and ran track. I was All-American in both. Then had the opportunity to play in the NFL, took full advantage of it, and ended up sticking for 5 years.
And you played in Jacksonville first?
Yes, ma'am. So my rookie year, I bounced around a lot. My rookie year, I was brought in right after the draft by the Cleveland Browns, was there for maybe 2-3 months, then ended up in Kansas City, was there for another month, and then fell to Jacksonville and was in Jacksonville for the next 3 years.
Okay. And what was that experience like? The journey from college, I guess, to professional athlete.
The journey was different. It was a lot more lights, a lot more publicity. I felt like the living arrangements were a lot different too. Instead of having a dorm dedicated to just football players, you were put in a situation where you were with people who made millions as well as people who were just trying to make a team. For the first year of life in the NFL, I actually lived in an extended stay because every time I decided to get an apartment, before I signed the paperwork, I would get cut. So I decided to just thug it out and extended stay in case I kept getting cut.
Excellent. Okay. Next we have Dr. Adnan Razlan. He is an ultimate Frisbee player, and he currently still plays. Is that right?
Yeah, I currently intermittently play. I kind of took a step back away from it about a year ago. Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit how you got into Frisbee, and particularly at an elite level.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I could start there. I played varsity soccer. I was definitely not the best soccer player, but I was athletic. And then started kind of messing around with a Frisbee just here and there. Nobody was good, but a lot of my soccer friends, I was in marching band as well. A lot of my marching band friends, a lot of my soccer friends all together would play ultimate at night with a light-up Frisbee. And then one of our assistant band directors who had played at a national level for Ohio State in college noticed us and said, hey, do you guys want to become like kind of a real team? We did. I captained that team. And then...
and this is in high school?
This is in high school.
Okay.
And then after that, actually, that was my senior year of high school, went on to play collegiate and then the club level. And Ultimate's a weird sport where the club championship for many years was kind of the holy grail of Ultimate versus the professional. Like there's kind of like a club and professional league separate, similar to soccer has like an international league and a club league. So there's, and players play in both. So I played on the Cleveland club team and then started playing professional Ultimate while I was in med school. my first year of med school.
And so you mentioned a coach that had played at Ohio State. So just for our listeners, there are Frisbee teams on collegiate campuses?
Yes,
Okay.
most they're all in a club sport, similar to how rugby is. There's no varsity rugby. It's going to be club ultimate club rugby. So they're in the club kind of sphere.
So it sounds like your sports path you started with soccer and then you kind of eased into Frisbee.
For sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then last but not least, we have Dr. Jarrett Perry. He is an OB anesthesia fellow here at Emory, and he is a Paralympian. He's a very good swimmer, obviously, if he was
Used
playing
to be,
at that
yeah.
level. I'm sure you still are. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
So first of all, I lost my leg when I was 2 days old. I have an identical twin brother. We had twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome before I was born, and no one even really knew anything was wrong until we were born. So my leg was essentially necrotic from the knee down when I was born.
Okay.
And so at 48 hours, they amputated my leg. And I was fortunate enough to be raised by parents that, treated me no different than my siblings. I got my first prosthetic leg when I was 6 months old, and I hated it. I'd sit there and cry, but my parents helped me walk and whatnot. So that's just the way that I was raised. We born in Kansas, but moved out to Maryland, and my dad was a big sailor, and so we did a lot of sailing out there, and I would frequently fall off the boat, jump, but fall off the boat. I remember doing that, and so my parents got us into swimming for water safety, and it was just something that we were good at.
All your siblings are as good as you are, Jarrett?
My brother got a full ride. He got offered a full ride to Dartmouth for swimming, and turned it down and went into the Air Force. We're still scratching our heads on that one, but so all of my even my sister was really good at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell me about how you just kind of started. When did you start swimming competitively?
I started competing when I was 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so swam on a club team back home in Wichita. It was kind of like my second home. I was there more than anywhere else, and swam all the way through high school. I got into Paralympics in '99.
Okay.
And
At that point, you were how old? Or if you want to.
oh man, yeah. No, I don't know if I want to.
Well, maybe you don't want to say how old you were, but
kidding,
I guess at what point did you start at that level?
Actually 11 is when I started.
Okay.
I started there, and then kind of got into the international scene in '99. I think I was 13 or at that point. So my first international trip was in '99 to Australia. Didn't make the 2000 games, but my first Worlds was in 2002. And they went to Argentina. I got a silver medal in that one in the 100 backstroke. Kind of stuck with it. Got into the 2004 games. I got a gold in Athens. Kept with it. 2006, I was a team captain and gold in the 100 backstroke in Durban, South Africa, and then 2008 in Beijing, I was a team captain as well as a bronze in the 100 backstroke as well. So,
Wow, so pretty extensive career at a high level. So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. And so I guess my questions for Nate and Jared, since you're not active, I guess I could ask you too.
Yeah.
Although you'll probably come back to Frisbee, but do you all miss your sports at all, or do you feel like that was just a phase of life, or
So I still get out there and play. I hadn't played this year.
you let people tackle you still?
No, I play flag. I'm
kidding.
flag. People try to get me in a tackle league one year. I was like, no way, I'm not being tackled again. So I play a lot of flag football. I played pretty much every year while I was in residency in New Jersey. I hadn't looked into a league down here. I kind of been focused on just getting
Learning.
just getting
We like to hear
through fellowship. But I do plan on getting back into some type of league next year.
So you do miss it?
Yeah, I just miss the guys. You miss playing around, joking, the hoorah, the locker room, and that's what you miss.
Okay. What about you, Anna?
I think I stopped a year ago. I kind of just hung things up for a bit, focused on me and my wife, just focused on us together, and then residency got busy. But I think I kind of agree with Nate. I think I just missed the social aspect of it as well. I just went to a practice 2 days ago, and my joints definitely felt it, and my
But you're planning
ankles
to
and my
get back
knees.
to it, maybe.
I am planning on
Okay.
playing again. I'm moving to Houston for fellowship in cardiothoracic anesthesia next year, so I plan on kind of connecting. What's nice about Ultimate is that every city kind of has like a built-in friend group, because you just let them know that you played at a high level, let them know you're interested in joining their Ultimate community, and you can kind of immediately have friends when you get there who kind of speak the same language as you.
Yeah.
So,
what about you, Jared?
So I took like off during residency and didn't really swim or anything, but then
Not swim at all.
At all, you know,
wow.
because I was just more just kind of focused and on my training there. The last 6 months of residency, I did start swimming again, and I was like, I definitely remember this being a lot easier. You know?
it's a rude awakening.
Yeah, I know it was. Yeah, but I haven't done any since I've been here in Atlanta. But it's definitely when I go back home. In July, I'm definitely picking it back up. So.
Oh, great. So I think Adnan and Nate know this, but I used to be a program director, and so one of the things that I always was fascinated by when I read and reviewed applicants were people that played sports. Not even at high levels, but not as high as you all. But people played in college. I was always drawn to those trainees. I think that there are some great life skills, I think, that kind of come with playing sports, organized sports. So tell me a little bit about how you all think maybe your sports experience helped you or has helped you in medicine. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll take off. I think one of the things I've noticed about all of us that we all said was that we kind of put things away and kind of focused. I think sports teach you how to tunnel vision and focus in on what the ultimate goal of something is. I also think it teaches you a lot about failure as well as success. It teaches you how to take a loss, how to take one on the chin and pick yourself up and think, okay, next play, and learn from your mistakes.
So perseverance.
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of times you look back at the film, that's what we call film watching. You look back at the film, figure out what you did wrong, what you could have done better, even if you didn't do anything wrong. So I think it's just always looking at yourself under a microscope, figuring out how to get to that place you want to get.
I think like a natural transition from what Nate said was, I feel like playing sports just as an adult in an organized situation is unique. Usually if you don't play college sports, then after high school you just don't play organized sports again. Mm-hmm. And having played as an adult and still playing with a coach, captains, and kind of a team who, like, the team is more important than the individual for the team sports, but there's not many other experiences I've had in my life where there's like actionable feedback and actionable things that other people comment on. Hey, you can improve on this, or I go to somebody else and say, hey, how can I get better at this, or what can I do in the off season or in the off time to get better at this specific thing. So I feel like that's something that I've definitely been able to apply to the anesthesia residency. And
so you're attending as like a pundit, like a sports.
Yeah, and
like a Stephen A. Smith
exactly.
or something.
And I think a big thing too is like you get to see one of my big talking points. I actually wrote about this in my personal statements. Is you kind of realize what being the best at something does not mean you're a good leader at something. Two very different skill sets.
Wow.
So you're able to see in the operating room who's a good leader and who's not. People who, and you kind of start noticing you gravitating towards good leaders. Uh-huh. And if you take a step back and think like, why do I like this person? Or like, why do I actually enjoy working with this person? And you realize they just have leadership qualities, or they have like good coaching qualities that we are lucky to see in coaches that other people may not see.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very deep kind of
like I said, I've wrote about it a few times.
I can see the parallel.
Yeah, I've wrote about it a few times, so it's not a new thought.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of I don't know, keeping your nose to the grindstone. You know, I mean, like you get a lot of times in residency, you work you get up early in the morning, you have a hard case, you're mentally exhausted, you know, but just kind of sticking with it, you know, still like studying afterwards, you know. And I think like I can think multiple days I'm just like, I am tired, I don't want to go to practice, you know, and just kind of just sucking it up and doing it anyway. And I think that's kind of something that kind of helped me get to where I'm at now, is because like I'd be tired at the end of the day and I'm just like, no, I don't want to study, but going home and doing it anyway, you know. And then you turn around and look back and you're just like, okay, like this is how far I came just because I pushed myself that extra mile, you know.
So did all of you always have a plan to go into medicine, or did it come about later, and kind of how did you make that decision?
I planned on doing medicine. Like, my dad is an anesthesiologist. He's the type of dad that asked me what type of doctor I wanted to be, not what type of what I wanted to do when I grew up. So and I did a BSMD program. So even out of high school, I knew I was part of this like medical program.
Okay.
But
I was kind of in and out of the hospital, as a kid with, leg revisions and, and kind of some other stuff. And half my family are pilots and the other half does medicine. So, I was like, I don't know that I can be a pilot, so I guess I'll just go here. And so, I kind of knew from an early age that that's where I wanted to end up.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was very similar. Like, at the age of 6, first grade, they asked us what we wanted to be, and my mom still has the little thing on the refrigerator. I said I wanted to be a professional football player and a doctor. So I think I knew at a young age I wanted to be a doctor. I don't know what kind of doctor I wanted to be. I just knew I wanted to be a doctor. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I always think it's nice to look back at that. Probably when you see that on your mother's refrigerator, but you've accomplished both of those things, right? So you're an NFL player and a physician. So what was it about Emory that drew you all here?
I came here for residency, so I liked the program. I felt like when I came here and interviewed here, I was lucky enough to have still in-person interviews. I felt like everybody was so kind. I felt like taken care of, and I felt like academically it would definitely check all the boxes, and then patient demographics, it would definitely check all the boxes. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the big draws for me is like the acuity, like how sick some of the patients are here. I think the cardiac patients that I see over at Midtown, that's going to be something that's going to be immensely helpful for my city when I go back, because I've had patients that everyone's an anesthesiologist at home, everyone knows what they're doing, but there's been a couple OB patients that we were just like, okay, hope this works, and that was the big driving force for me coming down here, is just the acuity of the patients, the volume of the patients, and when I got here, I definitely knew I made the right choice. Everyone down here is just so nice, and some of the best practitioners that I've had the pleasure of working with. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, so mine was a little different. I knew I was going to get good training here. Also knew I was close to home. Then I heard about a cool program director from a few people and a few interactions. I was like, yeah, she is pretty cool.
Then I deserted you, but I left you in good hands. When you think of, your sports backgrounds and kind of some of the things that you all mentioned about how you think sports have helped you in your career in medicine, are there things that you try to impart on junior residents or other trainees that you've drawn from your sports background? Does that make sense? So whether it's the coaching that you mentioned or things like that?
I think one of the biggest things that I try to get across to junior residents, especially last year when I was in a residency program, was just the thought process of you don't want things to be easy. Things are easy, you won't really benefit from it when it comes to your learning. You kind of want to put yourself in a true training environment to get the best that you can get out of it. I think about residency as training camp for football. You come to training camp, you focus in for a month on nothing but football. You eat, breathe, live, just do everything that to prepare you for the season, for all the things that you're going to come, because there's some place that you learn in training camp that you don't use until week 15 or week 16 of the season, but you got to have it in your mind and know how it works. And I feel like it's the same with residency. You have to go in knowing that during residency, I'm going to see and be able to do a lot of different things. Some things I may not see again or use again until 15 years down the road, but I got to be prepared and be ready when that opportunity comes about.
But do you think that affects how you maybe counsel another trainee about how they receive feedback, I guess is what I'm saying. So feedback and training programs, we all know some people like to give feedback to trainees, some people don't, and then some trainees love feedback and some don't. And some only like feedback if you're saying what they want to hear, right? Yeah. So do you think that, in hindsight, and kind of how you had to receive feedback and how you realized it helped you as a athlete, does that affect how you maybe counsel a resident about the feedback they're receiving?
I think just being on a team and seeing all the different personalities all the time on a team and how some people receive coaching helps you give coaching to other people. So I can tell pretty quickly of those people who they don't want to hear good things, and you have to sandwich it. You have to give them a bunch of good things, then talk about a few things they could potentially do better.
So you're a fan of the sandwich method for feedback. Okay.
So you have to go that level. Now some people that's tougher, they straight to the point, like, yo, what I need to do better. And I was very like that. Like, what you think? What's this? What's that?
Yeah.
And like I picked up on that when I first met him. And I already felt like he was an athlete before I even got to know him. And then we started talking, and I realized he's an athlete. And I feel like athletes are very similar to that. They kind of want to know, okay, how do I get better? What is it gonna make me better? Where am I feeling at? And they really don't care about, okay, how good am I? I need praise. I need this.
I agree. I think that like when you're on a team, you see how different people react to different types of feedback, and a lot of times like when you're on the sidelines, you may hear some teammates like yelling at each other, and it kind of makes you uncomfortable or makes you feel like, okay, but I know I have a relationship with a few friends on my teams, especially my Cleveland team where I played for 6 or 7 years. It's like if we're yelling on the sideline, that's how I get feedback, and I can only receive that from a few people. Like they'll yell at me, they'll tell me that's not your role, get your head in the game, whatever it is. But then other people completely shut down to that, right? But for me, it motivates me. And I noticed that in residency too. It's like some people, you try to motivate them and they're just like immovable. Or some people, like they need that praise. Some people need like straight to the point feedback, or they're craving feedback, but other people are scared to, or sometimes your leaders are scared to give it because they don't want to be seem negative, or they don't want to seem like critical, but that's what we need in training. So it's hard because a lot of people become like they kind of shell up when people are critical of them because they've never been in like a feedback receiving environment. That's actually important. So
good point.
Yeah.
So I think that like I don't know what I try and do is I try and gauge the person, just kind of like he was saying earlier, is like some people want that direct feedback, other people kind of want to like ease into it, but I always try and just open end them, and say, how do you think that went, like what could we have done differently there, and then kind of build on that, just because I feel like the more that they take an interest, they look at their performance, the more things that they're going to think of that they can improve on, maybe just I don't know, couple different technique styles or something, so I always try and give them the floor and then just kind of build on that.
So, we've heard about the sports that you play. We know you're all, excel in your individual sports and you're mentally tough. What's been the biggest challenge about switching to medicine, whether it was med school or even now as an anesthesia trainee?
I think time, like for me, because I played through med school, I like found ways to navigate it and found ways, and then through residency, the first few years of residency, time was kind of like my, it was kind of on my side, but then I got married and things kind of like were still happening in my life that I was like, okay, like medicine and my marriage, or like my weekends became a lot more valuable. And then also like, I'm still a resident. I can't take off every weekend to go play Ultimate because other people would have to cover me. So it's like finding the time, and then you're also on a professional team where other people aren't in medicine, so they have every weekend free, and they have so finding a way for them to invest in me who can't commit to every weekend while other people can. Maybe they're not as good as me, or maybe they're better than me, but they can commit, so like they're more present. So I've kind of just taken a step back and just kind of acted like a practice player. So that's been a challenge for me, though.
My biggest challenge in transition was the addition of kids.
So you have 3 children, right?
3, yes. Okay. I have three young kids, 9, 6, and 4. Okay. And so if you do the math, once I started medical school, I only had 1. So things were a lot easier than my ex-wife. She was military. Speaking of pilots, she was a military pilot, so she was gone a lot. So I was the one holding it down with the little one. Then we added a second one, and I became the one holding it down with 2. Started residency, holding it down with 2. Then I held it down with 3 while in residency, and it just kept adding on. I think those were the biggest challenges for me. I feel like the thing that got better for me was that other than that new point, those new things in life, I was accustomed to, like you spoke earlier, I was accustomed to studying all day, working all day, school-wise all day, then practicing, and then being tired, having to figure out how to open a book to study back over the things that I supposed to have learned during lecture. And that cycle prepared me for the kids cycle. So it became, okay, I'm in school all day. Now instead of me practicing, I'm coming home, getting the kids ready for bed, doing work with them, getting them situated. Then I'm opening the book. So it kind of continued, but that was definitely the toughest part for me.
Yeah, that sounds challenging.
It sucks.
I think it was just a different kind of hard, I mean, like you're used to physical, like just being physically drained and just kind of, tired from that. But now you're adding a mental component on that. So you're tired, during the day, but you've got to be able to think and like process like complex information and then make an appropriate decision. And then at the end of the day, I mean, like if you're working at 24, you still got to be able to perform just as well as like the first hour of the day. And so I think that was kind of hard. But I think one thing that swimming did teach me is just how to adapt, And so once I figured out what I needed to do, it became easier. But that was a big challenge initially for me.
And on top of that, it just made me think, because when you're playing sports, you can dig deeper in the moment. But if you don't know it when it comes to medicine, you just don't know it. You can't dig deeper and know it and pull it out like you can with sports.
So that's what we'll do now. So now comes the fun part of the podcast, although I like to think that the entire podcast is fun and informative. Again, we want to thank our athletes and trainees for taking time to tell us about their journey. But I think this, again, shows the rich type of talent that we're able to draw to our program. But we're going to play our fun game called Gas or Breaks. I think we all know the rules here, and so I'll start with Jarrett. Don't look afraid. Don't look afraid. Ketamine.
Gas.
Cricoid pressure for RSI.
Breaks.
BIS monitor.
Breaks.
T-piece in the PACU.
Yes, I'll do it when it's necessary. Yeah.
Accommodate.
Gas.
Breaks.
Yeah.
Breaks. Breaks. Cardiac anesthesiologist. Okay. Cerebral oximetry.
I'm gas when it's used in the right way.
DPE or standard epidural?
DPE all the way.
All the way.
Gas, excuse me, gas. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for joining us for this edition of our podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks again for joining me.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us. It's fun.